Welcome everyone. I hope y'all can actually hear me this time. We're gonna do a let's play of World War Z. Gonna see how this goes. Hopefully you guys can actually hear me. Sorry. I think I figured out how to do these games pretty well now.
Stories. We will starve here. The subway's our only chance. We take it to Inwood, get to the evac center, and get the fuck out of New York. Or we die here. I don't like him, but he's.
I've been wanting to play this game for a very long time, and I've been trying to play a bunch of these games lately. Ran into a bunch of problems, unfortunately. Lost a lot of my data, so it's a very, very long story, but I'm basically just replaying a bunch of the stuff that I've been trying to replay for the last couple days, or last weeks, really. Which isn't fun, but it is what it is. I also figured out that I'm just going to talk about history, because that's one of my favorite subjects. And I think a good history lesson while trying to shoot zombies, like, what's not a better way to talk about things, you know? God, this game is very, very impressive, I'm not gonna lie. I probably at this point put in like 20 plus hours into it, and it has just been a wonderful experience so far. It's not a perfect game, obviously, you know, there's graphical glitches, etc., but as an overall experience, I cannot complain, and actually I'm thoroughly impressed with what they've been able to make with this. If anyone's looking for a Left 4 Dead type of game, by the way, I think this game can be played in first person. I just like the third-person view. Then this is your fix, honestly. That's the only way I could put it.
Call the elevator. We gotta get out.
But I want to talk about history. And for me, I'm a huge fan of American history. I don't know about the shotgun. Huge fan of American history.
Reloading. Dan, you there? Always. We're headed down.
So this game isn't perfect.
Over.
Ooh,
Gotta be something.
I want a carbine. It's very difficult. This game can be. I'm playing on a much easier mode because this game, especially unfortunately by yourself, is damn near impossible to play with. Just pretty much by yourself. Especially when the parts you're about to see, you'll see why exactly. And look at all that. Just, my goodness. The amount of effort that's going to have to go into this. Screw it. And you're going to start running. Ooh. That would scare the living daylights out of me.
Shit, they're coming. Look out for the bird.
Oop, get away from me. Get away from me. Especially that one. That one will infect you and can pretty much almost mean an immediate game over. That's not what you want. And that is a screamer. We're seeing all the zombies right now. I might have chosen the wrong gun for this, to be honest with you. Where's that screaming coming from? That's just gonna attract them more and make them more difficult to kill. But I do have this. Big chunk out of them. Thank God. Today I think I just want to talk about the presidents. I think I'm just gonna have a mini discussion about them. Probably timed out perfectly. Wow, they're still alive. A lot of them. What other guns are there?
Oh my God.
I'll take an assault rifle. If that's not what I want.
Good enough.
Nope. This game can get a little glitchy a little bit at times, which I don't have a problem with. And the only benefit with playing the single player, by the way, is quite literally just the fact that all the resources largely are mine and mine alone, so I can do within reason what I want with it. But today, let's just talk about the presidents. I've done a lot of research, studying into presidents, and I've come up with one conclusion, ultimately. I don't think there's a single good president, outside of maybe 3 or 4, that actually are good. Quite literally. Plain and simple.
Welcome home.
I think there's a handful that do like just a really good job, and I think are given exceptionally difficult circumstances that are very hard to ultimately convey. And yeah, I also think there's just a lot that don't do anything and or are actively trying to sabotage the country, whether to implement their own idealistic form of governance, which is counterintuitive to the foundation and ideals of the American Republic, or just because they're just really crappy people and just are powerful individuals who just want power. Each and every single one of them, outside of maybe 5, I would probably say, like fundamentally and foundationally has those ideals. Now get ready, folks. You're gonna see the swarm. I'd probably say at least every single mission has at least 2, usually swarms. Just large swaths of enemies coming, and you'll see. I'm gonna try and do this all cinematic-like. Look at that. And we basically just have to kill most of them and defend while dealing with chaos. In every single swarm, they try and give you at least enough ammunition, weapons, etc., to help make it a little bit easier. I'm a personal, just huge fan of when they give you a bunch of those electrified fences. Makes things so much simpler and easier. They didn't give it to me this time, which, whatever. You die. I'm sure you're dead.
She won't be spitting anymore.
Let's talk about the presidents. And I'm going to go in order to pretty much explain to you over the course of this series and the next couple series probably why some presidents are good, some presidents are bad. The first, of course, is George Washington. The first president, the father of our country in a lot of ways, and pretty much quite literally all the ways, in all the important ways at least. He is such a fascinating human being, a fascinating figure that I think truly does not give and receive, especially nowadays, the level of respect he properly deserves, I think, in terms of his son of a gun. That scared me. That got me. Son of a gun.
Oh, let go!
Raise it up.
Came out of nowhere.
Like, what he was truly able to do is a feat that I don't think any single individual who has been president,
Quiet here.
who has become president, truly has the fortitude to actually be able to do.
I'm going.
A Virginian gentleman, warrior, deep down, although his military history prior to this, let's say, is very checkered. Ooh, I like this in the battle rifle.
I'll take what I can get.
You know, it's crazy. He grew up and born in Virginia. I think he was one of 3 brothers. Not particularly close to any of his brothers, because his father was a Virginian statesman. And really, in a lot of ways, you know, being a parent back then is very different than being a parent now. Most ways, actually. And in particular in Virginia, where it sounds bad, but it's more like I'm gonna have sons to raise to be proper gentlemen, to be able to carry on, you know, especially in the aristocratic, I guess, type of society that they're trying to build.
Who wants more?
So he wasn't particularly close to any of his brothers except Lawrence, I believe it was, who was this great big, of course, who was this great military leader, actually. He would actually die of tuberculosis later, but that's more of a later thing. My goodness. It just never ends, does it?
Anybody else?
But Lawrence, son of a biznitch. Of course. Like chuck a grenade over there.
Hey, get out of it.
Reloading.
Trust that screamer.
We're supposed to be talking to the guy over here. Oh, there he is. Not gonna lie, this battle rifle's a little bit overpowered, that's why I got it. Clear the subway.
Get back, you smelly bastards.
Who wants more?
I have to take out this guy over here. He's not gonna stop. Make sure. He grew up. He loved his family, etc. For someone like him, it was a pretty normal Virginian childhood. And keep in mind, Virginia at that particular point in time in the history of the country is like pretty much the #1 state. It's the largest, most land, the wealthiest. I mean, most of the important figures within the Revolution and just the beginnings of this country start in Virginia. And, you know, George is no different. He's grown up there.
Oh, my reputation precedes me.
Okay, bunch of
Drive
stuff.
this thing.
Definitely need a lot of help here.
This rabbit hole is chock-a-block.
Now, if there aren't any swarms in this game, or in the other parts of the game, then there's going to be a bunch of these missions, which is probably my only real negative, if anything, where it's kind of like just supply runs effectively, or they have to do something that's going to make you go back and forth like a madman. Don't really mind it, to be honest with you.
Shit. They're coming.
It just depends on the mission and what we're trying to do, ultimately.
Bring me back to the bridge. Gas that gone. Watch for the clouds. Fire in the hole!
Oof. I don't know what you guys are looking. My goodness, this is not conducive to the situation, people. Because it's pretty interesting, because Washington was not initially a good military leader, personally. He's had, during the war of the 7 Years' War, which was the French and Indian War, I believe it was called. I don't have the history book text with me. I tend to be really bad with remembering words and names and specifics of things I haven't looked at in a very long time. Yeah, this is not looking good, people. But growing up, he wasn't initially the greatest. In fact, just like most Virginians back then, in particular, he was always looking for power, status, etc., etc., which I understand. They tend to be admirable traits where it's like, I shall charge head on into battle and do this or do this, and if I have this prestigious accolade or this prestigious post, then it's gonna allow me to, you know, go higher up into the rankings to achieve financial and social success, you know. So on one hand, I can understand that, but, you know, it's not always for the best reasons. And I don't think George really had any intention to do a lot of those things growing up. I think a lot of the military leadership stuff was supposed to be his brother, Lawrence, who died at a very young age, unfortunately. And some people have historically looked at Lawrence as the original George Washington in some aspects and in some ways. Which is fair, because Lawrence was a very brave person, and most historical accounts tend to, you know, look at him incredibly fondly. Far more than George, although in fairness, I don't know if that's just because of, you know, anti-George Washington kind of writings and mindsets. That's probably part of it. Running. That's at least probably part of it, but regardless, George does ultimately become the military leader that he wanted to be at the very end. But growing up, you know, he got a great education, learned the trades of being a Virginian gentleman, etc., etc. I think what needs to be understood is what a Virginian gentleman is, because he took that more than anything to a serious degree, where he wanted to be as proper as he humanly and physically could. And, you know, that means, like, being someone who's above board on everything for the most part. Like, I'm gonna be as honorable, tell the truth, distinguish, don't accept things that you don't need, or, you know, you're gonna be a self-made man who's going to do right by the people, the constituency. Like, I think a lot of things in this country are supposedly supposed to be built on the ideas of being a Virginian gentleman. You know, we're gonna, like, do what's right, be charitable, you know, just real proper things that we're supposed to be doing. But people don't do it nowadays, especially in, you know, government.
When are we gonna leave?
And I think that's the end of this mission, guys. I think we did it. Suck it. Suck it, 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 suck it. Ooh, okay. You going, bro? There we go. That's the end of this mission. Beautiful. Music to my ears. Alright, we're going to continue this in just the next part, so sit tight for just 1 second. Alright guys, welcome back. Where did I leave off? He grew up pretty normally. Ended up basically being like a surveyor for Virginia, especially into the West, where a lot of the country had not been surveyed yet. Remember, this is prior to the 7 Years' War and all that.
This can't be good.
I don't trust this psycho.
Roy! Roy, open up! Open the door, you twat! Roy!
Alright. This mission, we gotta get through all the tunnel systems and stuff like that, so that's gonna be super fun as we try and get the train across New York.
What's going on?
appears my associate on the other side of this door is either passed out drunk or deceased.
We'll check it out. Stay on the radio.
Okay.
Keep it down.
And I think growing up, George Washington, above all else, was just trying to figure himself out. You know, imagine trying to be like a 15, 16-year-old kid who's like, oh, I'm an adult now, so I gotta do all these adult things, and
I'll take what I can get.
I gotta figure out what the hell I'm gonna do for the rest of my life. At 16, and actually contribute to society, because that's how he was raised, and how he was going to, bring himself to be. Ooh. These breaching charges, by the way, you're gonna come in very handy, especially during swarms, because there's very few doors that need breaching charges that give you better supplies, equipment, etc., etc. And they are giving me a lot of good stuff so far, early on.
There's multiple switches to open them. Some of them are on timers. Have fun.
They'll put a switch.
Fire in the
Fresh
hole!
ammo, coming up.
Bull's finally down.
Do this,
Flip the
and
next
then
switch.
run around here and do that.
That's all of them.
It's open. Chaos is going to ensue. But growing up, he was trying to figure himself out. He even joined Lawrence at a certain point in the Caribbean islands, I believe, helping him do a bunch of stuff. I don't know if they fought wars or anything like that. I don't know if that was post-Lawrence days. I can't quite remember specifically. Not to be shocked if it was. But largely he joined his brother to help figure himself out, and his brother was a great aid to him. But unfortunately, both of them did get sick. Lawrence would eventually die of tuberculosis, and was it tuberculosis or smallpox? One of those two things. But Washington himself would actually get smallpox himself, get very, very, very sick, which it would actually lead him to be infertile, unfortunately. He would actually lose the ability to have children, which was devastating to George, obviously, but largely understanding of those particular times in that era. Oh, shit. Pardon my language.
We gotta move fast.
Get out of here. I'm gonna face people. I'm trying to do this switch so I don't have to do it again.
Stevie, we cleared the second gate.
Congrats. You're smarter than a sack of rotting
Forced to give me all this stuff, and then I gotta deal with these lunatics. Of course I can't shoot through that.
Ginger fella, about 5'7", he owes me
Running,
money.
running. Yep, it's not happening right now.
Loading ammo.
But when George does eventually recover, he comes back to America,
Shit.
which wasn't the United States at the yet at the
Completely
time,
exposed.
and
We're in the hub.
becomes a proper Virginia gentleman, ends up marrying Martha Custis. Already had 2 children at the time, but yeah, they both found each other pleasant and loving, and yada yada yada. Their marriage is largely pretty good for the most part. Far more traditional than, say, John Adams in a lot of different ways, but you know, she was there just to support the husband at the time. That's just how things were back then. Yada yada yada.
This will slow him down.
What was I gonna say? Oh, first, where do I put these? I forgot where the swarms come in. I'm going to say it's actually a pretty good spot right here.
I got us an auto turret.
Check my back and stuff. But George, now having a wife and then stepchildren to largely take care of. Yeah, give me this. Nope. That.
Good enough.
But and you know, children to take care of, and wanting to still be, you know, the Virginian gentleman that he is, and to move up the ranks of society, he ends up being in charge of a lot of American British regiments, one of which ends up being a part of the 7 Years' War between Great Britain and France. And look at this form coming, people. Just be ready. Let me get on top of the roof just to show y'all.
Oh, fucker, look at that! I can't get the engine running. Oh, I guess you'll have to fight 'em without me.
This guy's a cheeky bastard. Damn. They're coming from every single hole. Buttons.
Who wants some? Anybody else?
That's not helping. Where's they even coming from? But George Washington inadvertently starts the 7 Years' War. At least it's believed to be. Which it's difficult to ascertain truth in fiction sometimes, because a lot of people tend to write things, but I think it's generally, for the most part, believed that he unintentionally started the 7 Years' War. I think he ended up attacking a specific, or charging into battle, being all headstrong, wanting to do all this stuff, which, again, I don't know if a lot of these things are true, because I think history you do have to take with a grain of salt, and go off of certain assumptions, which make it very difficult. But let's say he does. Let's just say he does start the 7 Years' War, where he charges headlong into largely a French outpost or area that is controlled by the French, and basically sparks the war, which I tend to just want to take pause in, because while George, at that particular time, wasn't the most calculating individual, he himself, I think, shows, even at that particular time, at least some restraint to not do that, but yeah, largely he does that during tensions between British and the French, and I think some people have historically attributed that to his not necessarily want to be a part of the British aristocracy, etc., etc. I think it's more like he wanted to, potentially continue to upgrade his status and be, part of, at that time, especially in the the eventual United States. Like, if you wanted to make it at that point in time, especially with the 13 colonies, the best way for you to do it was to be in line with the British and the British ideals, etc., etc. Now, those are rats that will eat you alive, so it's just better to just deal with them that way. And largely, Washington was given a command of the American British regiment during the entire 7 Years' War, largely. But unfortunately for him, he ended up getting sick most of the time. Dysentery is a very prominent thing. Well known historically, a lot of people die of dysentery. I mean, just look at how many British wars and whatnot are fought, and like a third of the people die because they just get sick sometimes, and it's crazy, But dysentery is still a prevalent thing back then, even at this point in the 1700s. But you got just a real bad stomach bug, which leads to. Right, I should probably do this first because it's gonna have me go back and forth like crazy. I'm trying to activate it, but you won't let me.
Spin panel's missing key. Stevie, what do we do? Reloading.
Now, unless you can breathe poison, I'd start searching dead workers for
This is just so satisfying right here. That's not satisfying. Oops, too early. I can mow you down. I can just mow you down. Don't rely on that, people, because those big guys will tear you a new one.
This guy doesn't have the key.
I will say though, what makes a lot of George Washington's at that point military stardom, I guess you could say, is his acts during the war itself when he was healthy. He showed immense bravery, courageous leadership that ultimately culminated in the end, or nearing the end of the war, where the British were completely outnumbered and completely routed as and they were actually forced to retreat at one point. In which case, George Washington volunteered and decided he was going to hold off the advancing French during this retreat, in which case he ended up saving quite literally thousands of British lives by just telling his men to hold still, leading a charge. Such a ferocious battle that a lot of people actually thought George Washington died, and which only aided by the fact that George himself was considered a fatalist, which I think by definition is someone who, if you go into battle, yikes, if you go into battle, you're basically saying, if I die, I die. I will charge headlong. Whether bravery or stupidity, I will not be, or I will fight until the very last breath, effectively. Better hurry. I want to die because of the smoke. Is even the way to go up? Yep. Okay. Yeah, you will lose health, especially on harder difficulties, which makes it very difficult. But effectively, get rid of that gas. I jumped a little too early. I want that smoke. As you can see, battle rifles tend to be my favorite gun, and I'm pretty sure this is a battle rifle. Yeah.
I'll take what I can get.
Give me that battle rifle. And another med pack. Beautiful. I love having all the supplies. But I mean, a valiant, George Washington was a brutal man. He's just like, we will fight headlong into battle. We will protect those we love, yada, yada, yada. In fact, there were at least many accounts where George Washington quite literally had 5 or 6 bullet holes into his coat, his hat. A lot. Ooh, this is where it gets a little crazy. Look at all this. That's just crazy. At this point, just run, because they will not stop. You will be SOP, son. So just deal with this now. Just run away. Don't care if you get called chicken heart. Closing the door. Ooh, that's no bueno. Get out of my face, people.
Reloading.
Give me that.
Welcome home. Look, I bet that vent leads back to the train.
Ooh, yeah. In fact, actually, people thought George Washington died, this great future American leader, that
Stay quiet.
I think his wife Martha received the news that he died, and then comes home and is basically like, what are you talking about? I'm perfectly fine, with bullet holes everywhere. And fate has very strange ways of working out, because imagine if George Washington dies, I don't think we have a country. I will go on the record to say that. But he manages to live. He manages to survive just emphatic chaos in the way that he does, which is incredible. And if he doesn't do that, we don't have a country. And I'll stake my life on that. I don't think we do. And it's crazy to think that, things had gone just a little bit differently. Get off me! Get off me! things had just gone just a little bit differently. Someone aiming a bullet in a particular way literally just stops the creation of a new and probably one of the single most important nations ever to exist in the history of mankind, I think is truly remarkable.
Damn it! Somebody shot me.
Suck it.
Auto turret ready.
But he does. He does and continues to be a Virginian gentleman. He uses a lot of his military status to gain a lot of influence, a lot of power, political power especially. Which is crazy because he doesn't use any of it really for his own personal reasons or really anything that most people would probably use it for.
I'll take
You
one.
know, he's just like, just give me my plot of land and I'm just gonna, you know, live my life the way that I want to live my life, and I will just do what is right by my people and my countrymen. Now, when the war happens, though, that's when he starts using his political power, and a lot of people are trying to vie for his power, and he's trying to be as measured as he humanly can be.
Looks like Black Friday in here.
Oof, look at all this.
There's a tunnel boring machine.
Take that, son. Suck it. Take it, sucker. Damn, sucker. And he was generally against all of the things that were happening towards, you know, the Americans. But he was trying to have a measured approach, in fairness, because, you know, he was still a part of, at least to a certain degree, had some swing and influence within, I guess, British aristocracy. He wanted to keep those relationships still, you know, potentially there. You know, he was he's someone that did to a certain degree think far more ahead than I think he is given credit for. And here they come again. Oh, they're coming from above. Good thing I put a couple of these there. Every single class has specific things. One of these classes actually does give you explosive ammo. Is able to heal you properly. Adrenaline. They coming? Oh, they are coming. Oh God, here they come, son.
Anybody want second? Anybody?
They're on fire. Nope, that's not gonna work.
Fire in the hole! Loading ammo!
Come on, son.
Getting done!
Get out of here. We don't want you here.
Come to mama.
Yeah. But George Washington thankfully does have a line, and the British crossed it with their excessive taxes, etc., etc. And he decided he was going to be someone who threw his power and weight into effectively saying, nope, enough is enough. And then at that particular point in time, I mean, he's like the first real American celebrity, you know? Which people tend to forget because we look at him and mythologize him as, you know, this guy and great war hero. But I mean, he was pretty much just like, you know, I don't even know how to quite quantify it. He's just basically the first celebrity. You think about Trump and the Orange Man, but like, no, like George Washington was kind of like that. You know, probably not in the same way or vein, but, you know, there's a lot of aspects to it that I think need to be understood that are remarkably similar. Come on.
Reloading!
This is no bueno. Well, where are they even coming from? That's the question. There's a bunch on this side.
Anybody else?
There, now we saved the driver. Away from me, people. Danger, danger. Restock you. Restock S. Okay. Zombie there? Nope. We are relatively chilling by them. Real quick, a lot of these missions tend to, I think they're really cool because I think they tend to follow a lot of what a lot of these countries would do, although probably not accurately, but you know, every single country does something a little bit different, depending on their circumstances and surroundings.
You can't leave us here.
Son of a bitch!
Take him out.
Cheeky bastard. Trying to leave us.
Honestly, you Yanks have no sense of humour. Now hurry up and get on a bloody train.
Alright, this will end it for this part. Thank you. We're gonna go on to part 3 or episode 3 in just a second. I think this is one of my favorite levels. It's either that or the next one. I forgot which one was one of my favorites.
Keep your arms and legs inside the vehicle or they will be torn off and eaten. We've arrived at the 9th circle of hell. Please gather your belongings.
Thanks for the ride, Stevie.
Do we hug, kiss, or should I just quietly watch you approach your imminent death?
Silence suits you best. Have fun with your trains, nutcase.
Cheeky bastard. Give me that. Now, most of us know George Washington, during the start of the Revolution, ultimately does become
Seeker running towards it.
the leader of
Maybe we'll
the
make it to the river.
rebellious army, the Army of the Americans, or the Revolutionary Army.
Shit, the street's blocked.
Something over here. You know, I've never tried the crossbow. I probably should, but eh.
We can't stay out in the open.
But I mean, he pretty much gives everything he has to the cause. So if anyone has any requisite issues about George Washington being, if anyone has any issues about George Washington being the leader, doing it for glory and all that,
It's a cargo terminal.
it's very difficult for me to empathize with that ideal and that position because of the things that he ends up giving up. I mean, imagine being like the guy. Imagine having all the wealth that you can possibly have for the time. I mean, he had everything. Large farms that most of the time got lit on fire. Pretty much everything you can think of, you know, ultimately ends up happening to him. And, you know, it gets bad. His wife ends up having to really join them in the front lines just to avoid from being caught and potentially executed and stuff like that. Well, you know, British or whatnot. And I think it's interesting because I think a lot of people tend to downplay British crimes and downplay the revolution as a whole for its either lack of importance or the outsized demands of what, you know, the United States and a lot of these people ultimately ended up complaining about, I guess. My point being that a lot of people try to downplay it because as not important, because ultimately it was truly important and necessary for a lot of different reasons. And George Washington saw ultimately the largest part of that and saw the revolution as a necessity, giving pretty much everything he possibly could.
Found a tunnel between the
And
trains.
without him, we don't have a lot of things. A lot of people will point to other military leaders,
Hearing Zeke everywhere.
being far more important. And the truth is, everyone had a key role in both winning battles and keeping morale, especially during times of difficult trial. And George Washington largely was just trying to just hold the fort down, keep from the armies from disbanding, pretty much everything you can think of. So imagine being a a revolutionary soldier, part of the Continental Army, and you know, you're pretty much fighting for a cause that you don't believe in yet, and quite literally not gonna get paid. You're basically sacrificing your life and limb for these people, especially a lot of these congressmen who aren't fighting within the war. But George, though, he'll stand there in the front line with his men. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this right. Although he wanted to be part of the front lines, they said no. We need you alive, because if you're dead, then this all completely falls apart. But many numerous wonderful and really tactful battles ensue during this entire Revolutionary War, which I'll probably talk about later at a certain point. Not these parts. I want to talk about the presidents. That's what I want to talk about. But honestly, like his march across the Delaware River on Christmas, like if we literally don't have that, which is immortalized within our country's history as important, because if we don't have that, the war is over. You know, quite literally we lose the Revolutionary War, and you know, we're probably still a British colony to a certain degree, and the ideals of revolution don't really occur because no one's ever at that point successfully done it. But George did. George did it. Took on a bunch of those Hessian soldiers, which I think were Germans at the time, or they would be considered contingents of German soldiers, and sailed across the river, ironically with another future president, James Monroe, mind you, which I always find so fascinating, because it's like you have to compartmentalize the fact that a lot of these guys are all fighting together, and you know, like it's crazy. Like the next president is born, or one of the future presidents is born right now, and you know, you don't realize it, or how all these people are all connected historically, all, you know, together. But anyways, like pretty much every single battle that he's had from that point on tends to make things much more of a level playing field, which was both good and bad, because it was good in the sense that it showed that we had some backbone as a country and as ideas as a nation and as a warring, rebellious force. But it's also bad in the sense that the British are like, okay, we're not messing around anymore. Like, this isn't gonna happen. We will not let and lose to a bunch of rabble-rousing rebels. You know, we're gonna actually have to change some stuff. You know, so it made them far more willing to do, let's say, negative things, you know. Some people don't like to use the movie The Patriot, for example, as an example of British war atrocities. I tend to think that while British people and the British soldiers wanted to repair relations, etc., it's not like they did not do very atrocious things. And there are at least a couple of recorded instances, several actually, of them doing stuff like the things that they did during the movie The Patriot, burning down churches, and specifically with people inside of them to send a message, you know. They were not above themselves at that particular point in time. And it's only things like that that hardened the ideals of independence during the Revolutionary War. It wasn't like, oh my god, every single time that happened, but it was enough times to where you had an opportunity to actually, you know, fix relations, and you ultimately end up just making things far worse for yourself. Come on, come on, come on, come on. There we go. There we go. Come on. Oh, why can't I run? They're gonna be coming still, so I gotta make sure these guns are still good. And we're gonna ram this train into that door before they come again, because they will not stop coming. Boom. We just need to run now. Run, run, run. Good lord. And then we run down here. Oh, I'm gonna take a quick second, gonna text someone.
Fresh ammo coming up.
Oh, God. Smells disgusting.
Creeper
Oh.
down.
Spotted a screamer.
Oh, yep. There we go.
Loading ammo. Shut up.
Regardless, though, George Washington, over the course of 7 years, by the way, well, I think largely 5 or 6, but for the most part, for, half a decade of his life is given to the country, to hold the country together, to pretty much lose all of your wealth,
We've gotta be closer to
more or
evac.
less, and just for the idea of a better world and a better nation that
I'm okay.
could possibly exist. People forget this, and people forget that, which is always so frustrating to me when it comes to historical aspects and just remembering what the country was largely all
Chris
about.
Watson here. Climbing out.
And that's what upsets me sometimes.
What is this place?
But for George, this was everything that he had hoped and wanted for.
If they get out, we're screwed.
And he was just truly ready to retire by the end of it all, because he's like, I've done my duty, I've done my due diligence. I don't need to do anything more than what I've already done, because I've sacrificed too much, and I don't want. And I'm just gonna leave it to the people that ultimately should be the ones to lead it. The newer generation, etc., etc. So once the war is over, he does all the stuff. Says goodbye to his soldiers and his countrymen in a really just beautiful and brilliant speech that he gives them, saying gives thanks to what will become this beautiful, brilliant nation that we live in today. I mean, it's horrifying in a lot of ways, but for what George created, it's not. It's quite beautiful. Ugh. Give me some better guns, people.
Let's go.
But for George, this was the time for him to finally relax and retire peacefully, mind you.
They're bombing the street.
Keep your head down and follow the fence.
That's right where the Zeke are headed.
Oof. Look at all that. That's just chaos. But he retires and tries to retire until, the young, newer generation forming is trying to create a new country, and largely is struggling with it because of, well, 2 reasons. One, legitimacy is one of them, because it's like, we literally just got rid of one tyrant. Why do we need more governance from people who are actually now our compatriots and our comrades and our actual countrymen, who want to do largely the exact same thing that we tried to get rid of? And with George's backing, they're basically like, okay, if George is here, then we will cooperate as countrymen. Although there are large sects and regions that disagreed with that. A lot of those uprisings end up happening during Washington's first term as president.
Oh my God.
But after largely the Constitutional Convention happens, and it's abundantly clear that, never had this one yet.
Good enough.
After the Constitutional Convention happens, and it's abundantly clear that we have a lot of things to work out when it comes to, having a country, some very important details that need to happen. Because it was just the Constitution. No, if we needed leadership, and you know, good and bad leaders can change nations. That's the truth of things. You want a struggling nation, a struggling country, you know, just pick a very damn it, I wasted that. And just pick a bad leader, and you're gonna come to find that, you know, people follow along those lines of what makes good and bad leader. Like, it's just representative ultimately of the things that were to come. Let's deploy this.
Electrified grid in place.
Oh no, are they coming? Oh yes they are. They are coming. I should have just waited. I thought it was going to give me some time to properly defend this, but I guess not. Oh god, I gotta run. Maybe I can actually put this thing on. Second.
High voltage.
God.
Loading ammo.
God bless and help me. Oh, that was just a waste. I'm gonna have to restart this at least 2 or 3 times. God. Because understand, George just wanted to retire. He was given many things post-presidency, and he just wanted to just not have to deal with anything. Just wanted to live a very peaceful life as a farmer. He didn't want to be president. He wanted to just vibe, chill, as the young kids say. In fact, there was one brilliant story that basically this canal company, I believe, or it was a shipping company, I believe, wanted to give George Washington, like, I guess the equivalent of like several $100,000 in stocks, and wanted him to be like the face of it all, etc., etc. They basically just wanted to give him a lot of influence within the company, and George was just like, no, I don't want this. I'm done with it. It's a lot of money. Like, I would generally appreciate it, but the Virginian gentleman in him was basically like, this is effectively like a kickback for doing something I probably deserve, in fairness, but it wouldn't be the right thing to do. The moralistic attitudes that permeated, you know, those Virginians back then, am I right? A lot of them didn't tend to feel the same way in regards to that. A lot of political figures of that time, but George did. Because he understood the kind of human being that he was and the importance of what he is and what he represents more than anything else, which are things that I tend to hold George Washington in high regard. Can you imagine just a president like, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to get any extra money during my presidency. I'm just going to chill, just vibe, and just know that all the things that I've done have been for a good reason, for a good future, and for something that I can hold my head up high and be happy as an American that I've done what I'm supposed to do. And for George, that was enough. But the United States, they were not done with him yet, because they needed him. They needed him more than anything.
I'm never getting out of this boat.
Alright, this is going to end part 3. We're going to do part 4 right after. Now this is actually, I think, my favorite level. Of at least the New York level. Sorry, cracking my knuckles. Okay. But just imagine George Washington you know, the country's a little bit in disarray without a specific leader, or becoming disarray, and people are just begging you to come back and be their leader, and he's just like, no, 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 no. It reaches a breaking point and boiling point where he's just like, all right, fine, I will be your leader, but I will be your leader only for a specific amount of time, and we're not calling it king. We're gonna call it president, because he didn't want the idea of people, and for people to think that, you know, it was gonna be like a kingship. You know, you're gonna be serving your time for the people and your constituencies, the United States, and you know, you're gonna be bigger and better because you're gonna be more righteous. And he's like, if you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it the right way. So he ends up agreeing to become the first president of the United States, pretty much voted unanimously and begrudgingly, because he didn't want to be it. Which is why I always hold him in high degree, because he actively did not want to become president. He wanted to just vibe. He wanted to just chill. He wanted to just enjoy the fruits of his labor, you know, and just be a normal citizen that didn't have to pay unnecessary and ungodly amounts in taxes, and wanted to actually just be free. They are relentless. Goodness. Oh. Get away. Get away. Come on, come on. Okay, I think we might be chilling for right now. I'll protect us. Oh no. One of our... Oh, well, one of our guys is gonna die. Well, that's no bueno. Ah, crap. Okay. This is just gonna make this game a little more difficult. I think they respawn. I'm not sure. I hope they respawn, because this is gonna make this game a lot more difficult. There's just 3 of us, but we'll have to wait and see. But let's just skip towards Washington's presidency. You know, the first term in particular is always the most famous because it's the founding of the country. He's trying to pretty much just bring stability, and largely you can attribute the entirety of George Washington's 8 years is just establishing everything and trying to just keep people from killing one another, because all the different states had different ideals, because a lot of people were still not completely united under the idea of the United States as a country, in particular the South, because they were just like, if you're not going to tell us what to do, then, you know, George Washington, especially Virginians, because they're kind of the bridge between the North and the South in a lot of ways, especially around that time, and he largely just straight up had to hold things together to the best of his ability, which he did, thankfully. Relentless today. The beginning part of this level is usually far more relaxed. I don't know if it's just because of... My goodness, they are just absolutely non-stop relentless. Okay. Yeah, look down there, folks. Oof.
Stay quiet.
A cool part of this game is that they do give you certain parts where you probably should be a little more stealthy and avoid all these things. Ah! Crap. Crap, crap, crap.
Anybody else?
Oh, crap, I don't even have... Ah, it's not good.
Explosives.
Actually. Okay, just run, 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 run. It's not what I wanted to happen. Alright, these zombies know that I have guns and they're gonna juke. That's probably the only unbelievable thing.
Thank you, sir.
Crap, 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 crap. Right. I think most people, unfortunately, and when I mean creating the things that we have standards for, it's like establishing in a lot of ways the powers of the Supreme Court, cabinet members and positions, because he above all else realized he can't do this by himself, can't do it all alone. He needed help.
Parking garage entrance is on the right.
Probably has the single most famous cabinet, which at the time was only 5 members or 4 members. I mean, his vice president is John Adams. Thomas Jefferson is the Secretary of State. Alexander Hamilton's his Secretary of the Treasury. I forget the other 2 members, but they were immensely important into the foundation of the United States as a country and as a whole.
We gotta get out.
This is not a good start. This is a terrible run so far. I'm not gonna lie. Tayshawn. Yo, someone better go help Tayshawn over here. Okay, now we need to get into this elevator and actually try and survive this nonsense. Ugh, it's a hard level.
I'm reloading.
Follow us. Captain, the civilians are here. They're armed.
All right, listen up. We're evacuating the wounded via chopper. We've got multiple swarms inbound and we're stretched to a breaking point.
And it wasn't just Hamilton. It wasn't just the other states. It was his own cabinet too. I mean, I haven't seen the play, but I assume that the Hamilton play largely covers a lot of the aspects of the Hamilton and Jefferson infighting, which was so ferocious that it's become a bit of a meme now at this point. But Hamilton once said, there's 1,036,000 words in the English dictionary, and not a single one of them is enough to tell you how much I want to hit you over the head with a chair. Like, they truly hated each other, and the fundamental differences between the ideologies of what would be Jeffersonian ideologies, or I guess in a lot of ways the ideals and foundational aspects that creates a more conservative libertarian lifestyle versus the more, I wouldn't even want to say expansionist. That's probably not the correct way to explain Hamilton's perspective, but using more and becoming a bit of a world power ideals in terms of American supremacy in order to safeguard. It was the idea of like, we're gonna have rights no matter what, and that above all else is what's going to make America truly a great country, the individualistic nature of it all, versus in order to protect our borders, to protect ourselves, we need to become this nation that is better than all nations, and in order to do so, we actually need to become the next great world superpower in a lot of ways, which we've largely followed Hamilton's perspective of things, for better and for worse, more so than Jefferson's ideals. And it doesn't help that Jefferson's ideals today make it a little bit more difficult with the way that the world has largely become, fair or unfair. Ooh, yeah. Here we go. Let's get this gun. Let's get the flare gun going.
I'll take it. Got the flare gun. 31 seconds.
Flare it up. Oh. God. Good Lord, people. I think I need to deal with that guy because it's just gonna make things so much worse. Where is that son of a gun?
Loading ammo.
largely for his 8 years, which he didn't want a second term, by the way. He was only willing to do the first term. But they voted him in, and they were basically like, dude, if you do not come back, this will only envelop into chaos. Because Jefferson and Hamilton and the brewing ideas that are becoming political parties, which I'm someone who just believes political parties are always going to happen no matter what. There is no functional reality where, you know, like, political parties are just going to happen, you know, for better and for worse. You know, if you want to believe that they won't, that this country would be better, make the argument, because it's very difficult to just have people vote based off of things that aren't going to include... Oh, crap. I think I'm going to fail. I didn't even see that. Yeah, I'm going to fail this. Crap. Crap. Sorry, guys. That one's on me. I'm gonna redo this. That was not a good part. I keep forgetting I'm supposed to do that. On the bright side, it'll give me more time to talk about George Washington. But anyways, George Washington himself ended up coming back for a second term and was basically like, Hamilton, Jefferson, we can't have this again, so I gotta get you both out of here. You guys figure it out on your own. And then Jefferson's is gonna just figure out his thing, eventually become president, obviously, but and Hamilton's gonna do his political machinations, which are very complex for... You know, Hamilton's such a fascinating figure. And I should probably talk about him soon, too. And I have so many mixed feelings about him. As an individual.
So, what are we doing?
So I tend to think of him as a very incredibly intellectual, in many aspects a very forward-thinking individual, but also someone who's much more of a revolutionary than I think people will ever truly admit that he is or was. A lot of it, honestly, for worse, in terms of ultimately what his ideals were and what they ended up really manifesting into. You know, we're just going to speed run through this part because this is a no bueno situation. I'll take the bullets. Of course there isn't. There isn't one, turn there, just the one. Okay. Everyone here. We're going without y'all. Of course the turn's there. Of course it's there. Of course I'm gonna get shot. He grew up in the Caribbean islands and comes to New York, studies law. This dude's a rebel. He's just a badass rebel, I'll be fair. Imagine you're like a 19-year-old law student or 18-year-old law student, and then it's like, oh, revolution for the rights of man, etc., you know, for this creation idea of the United States. He's like, bully. Let's just go. Let's do it. Leaves school, goes to a British armory, ends up just leading a rebellion against the British armory there, and ends up stealing a bunch of artillery, cannons and stuff, and then just starts soloing with like a small group of young rebels to oh, battle rifle. Ends up just soloing a bunch of things to the point where it actually catches George Washington's attention. And George Washington's just like, dude, who the hell is this kid? He's like, oh, it's Alexander Hamilton. He's like, get him a part of my unit, bro. Let's just do it, you know?
Here we go. Let's play it cool, okay?
And Hamilton's tough because I think he's such a revolutionary, but it's also like,
Stay quiet.
Now they're gonna attack. Yep. Shouldn't have done that. Should not have done that.
Reloading. Expanding factory.
Now this is just gonna make things so much more difficult.
Grenade is
Okay.
loaded.
God, these people. Go away, son. Not worth it. Just run. Running, running, running. God. Will not stop. Will not stop once I'm dead. I mean, as they should, because they're zombies, but still. Look at all these dead bodies. It's wild.
Parking garage entrance is on the right.
Breaching charge. No, frag grenades. Regardless, I'm a happy camper and I'll take them.
Call the elevator. We gotta get out.
Man, why is it so peaceful right now in relative comparison to what it was before? This is not fair.
Gather up before we move on.
Okay, but anyways, and he lives a very prominent life. He's always about the money, which I think some people don't want to talk about, but he was always such a fervent. He was so smart politically. He understood power. He understood what it was going to take to influence certain things. He got in with the right people. He was just a smart politician. Really, in a lot of ways, the first real, true American politician. He understood that. And I'll say this, he was one hell of a brave man. I thought, I pressed that button. Ultimately ends up dueling and getting killed by Aaron Burr, famously. And for him, it was more like, because he didn't shoot, remember that. Aaron Burr shot, and it was just gentlemanly, because it was just about honor, etc., etc., and he just wanted to defend his honor. That's all he really wanted to do,
Open.
and was trying to do. That's tough. I'm going to put this here, actually. I'm just going to take the flare gun now.
Good enough. I hope Dan made it through.
Da, 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 da. La, 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 la. Actually, you know what? Can I put that in there? Oh, yes, I can. That'll save me some grief later, so I don't have to deal with redoing this level for the 15th time. Get away, get away, get away, peoples. I'm walking here.
This will slow him down. She won't be spitting anymore.
Which part isn't voltaged yet?
High voltage.
That's why Hamilton's tough though, because I understand what he wanted, and I think largely to a certain degree.
Loading ammo.
I just think he believed that this is what was the way that the world was largely going to go, and he wanted America to be in the best possible situation for this to occur effectively. You know, he wasn't someone who was going to sell out his own people for, you know, money and like, you know, our politicians are doing today. He was just going to do what he thought was right for the country, and ultimately wanted to use his political power to do what was right for the country, fair or not. And I think, you know, that's why I think I have a lot of difficulty with Hamilton, because of, you know, his beliefs ultimately. I mean, he wrote a lot of what the Federalist Papers were, at least some of the most important parts of it. And, you know, that can't be discredited. Like, he wrote the damn book on the Constitution in a lot of ways, and, you know, I think that has some merit, fair or not. But, Washington, though, his second term was largely just continuing to establish the things that he was already trying to establish, and let's do that. Let's do that. Let's do that. Let's do that. Just chuck it over there. Get the big boy out and just finish this nonsense.
Get ready.
Ha-shalama-lama-lama ding dong. Put this here.
Big gun set.
Little high voltage grid, yes, that's sweet. Now we get some more annoying parts. Okay. The actual part of this mission.
Picked up a defense
We
kit.
have to go downstairs and restart the power grid. It's fun. Funsies. Which this mission, I'm telling you, can just get over cumbersome just by the sheer volume of... Like, this mission is probably far easier with, actual multiple players. But by yourself, trying to do all this and figure things out is damn near impossible. Which is why I tend to play... I have to play this on an easier mode, unfortunately. Now, if you can do this by yourself without, losing and screwing it up, then, by God, you're just a master gamer. I'll put it that way, fam. But, Washington established a bunch of things, tried to get trade and stuff with Europe, and,
Finally down.
keep in mind, Europe at this time's beginning with a lot of the issues of the French Revolution, the rise of Napoleon, Great Britain's losing a certain amount of influence, and, okay, up there. Ah, I think the gun ran out. Okay, I can do this quick. I think. Hoping I can do this quick. This is not helping people. Oh lordy. Come. Oh. Machine gun did it. Cool. Good lord. They just don't stop, man.
Loading ammo.
God. I'm basically just... Oh, God. I need to heal myself. I need to run. I'm just running. I'm in front of this thing. Heal myself. Can I shoot a flare? Is that gonna do anything? Of course. Now I'm confident that that turret just ran out of ammo now at this point. Come on. Or is it in the front? Might be in the front, actually. I think about it. Nope, it's on this side this time. Suck it. Trying to punk me. This was one of my favorite missions. Now it's becoming just a real difficult one, I'll put it that way. Just... Oh, God. Restock you. You know what? Dude, you just need to stop talking and yelling. Oh, God. This electrical grid is just very frustrating. Okay. But we keep going. Gotta protect these people.
Grid is back up. Steady out.
We got incoming from the stadium.
Think we're almost done. Put this motor here.
Mortar's ready
Here
to
they
fly.
come. Motor. Ooh. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see, fam. Oh, thank God. And this mission's just about over, guys. Whoop whoop. And kablooey. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see.
Where are we going?
But to end, that's largely what George Washington's 2 terms as president were. And because he leaves after the second term, he establishes the precedent that the president will only serve 2 terms, as to honor both the legacy of the United States and George Washington, but also just to, you know, be like, hey, we're not tyrants, we're better than this. And then he ends up retiring for 2 years, dealing with a bunch of the naval issues, or he deals with a bunch of naval issues. Forgot what it was, but ends up just leaving. Dies 2 years later because he basically gets sick, and then the blood leaching. His last words were, "'Tis well." Well, thank you guys for watching, and hope you guys have a wonderful day. God bless, and y'all rock.